Hey everyone, welcome back to Carrots and Olives. My name is Brittany, and today I wanted to do a quick mid-month overview of my fountain pens for the month of April. I am loving the setup right now. So this is the Esterbrook wraparound pen pouch, and it has a pocket, and I discovered that it fits really well with the 2023 Nulty or the miniature Nulties. And I want to say this is the pocket size. This is what I've been using for planning, and I've actually been using it on my desk. So it's like a combination of planning and of decorating, like having fun, but I also use it to put in like appointment times and things like that. I will go over this a little bit more in another video where I talk about how my planning system and my journals are going so far, which I think is a video that's quite overdue. So it just slides in here really nicely, and anytime I do want to take it with me, because sometimes I do put lists in here, I can take this whole thing with me, and it's just nice and compact and really nice to hold. So I have all 8 pens in this pen case, and believe it or not, it's only a 6-pen pen case. So it's like, how do I get 8 pens in here? And I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so this month we talked about in my last video my new pens that I'm inking up. I started off with 7 pens, and now I have 8, which I expected I would end up throwing on a couple more before the end of the month. So I will talk about all of those. So let's get started. I changed it up just a little bit because I wanted just a different style. I like to change things up. So I wanted to kind of keep it really straightforward, but then I started adding the color of the ink as well. So it's not as clean as it was initially, but to start off, my Twsbi, I'm gonna put my pen pouch right here and kind of show you off to the side how I've managed to put 8 pens in this pen case. I've actually am able to put 2 pens into one slot, as long as they're pretty thin pens, and as long as they won't scratch up on each other. So I put my Monoch pen with a sailor, and then my tailored company pen with an auto hut, and I find that I can manage to fit all of my pens into one case. Now, I don't suggest doing this if you have really expensive pens that could easily scratch up, so you want to be careful with which pens you do put together, but there are some really thin fountain pens that you can fit together in these inserts. I would say that you want to also be careful because you don't want to pull off the stitching, but so far this is working really well. It does have a little bit of give in between each of these inserts on the side. Okay, so my Twsbi, and this is the Twsbi VAC 700R, and this is giving me really nice clean lines. It is a little bit heavy, which is one of the cons I did write on here. I felt like the weight is making it a little bit less comfortable than the other selection of pens I have for this month. But the combination of the ink and the pen is like top notch. I really love this ink. It's dark, it's easy to read. You can even see the glitter coming out of this. I think this is an extra fine. Yes, this is an extra fine, and I could still see glitter coming out of this when I write with this pen. The only thing I don't like on the ink side is the fact that the ink starts to fade or it gets lighter as I'm writing longer. So I could see that in my journal when I'm writing for a long period of time. The ink is just not as dark and strong as the beginning. At the beginning when I'm writing and first uncap the pen. So next is the tailored fountain pen and Tailored Pen Company, and this is their like beehive hexagonal pen, and I have the Ferris wheel press Shangri-La in here, and it's very dry. In fact, by not using it over a couple days, I actually have to prime the nib again by just adjusting the converter inside, which is quite frustrating. But other than that, it writes really smooth. The nib is really good. It's a Yovo, but it's perfect, and the pen itself is very comfortable and lightweight. We have the Monoch nib, and this pen is fantastic. This one I've been really enjoying. I feel like you get 2 pens in one because I can write on the front like a normal pen, but then I can also write upside down in reverse of the nib, and it writes so smooth. I can even write it if I'm tilting my pen sometimes. Sometimes I do tilt my pen when I'm writing, and I can even write at that weird, awkward angle without the pen drying out or getting scratchy. So this one is superb. It's one of my favorites of the month. I will reveal that to you now, at least by mid-month. So today is actually the 15th, middle of the month, and this pen is just it's a favorite. In my next video, when I review at the end, I will show you some writing examples of how nice it is to write on the front or on the front of the nib normally and in reverse. Now, as for the ink is okay. I do feel like it's a little bit dull. This nib has it's a very wet writer. But then when the ink dries, it's just not as exciting anymore. So I said that it is quite dull. Next we have On a Whim Woodworks. Yeah, On a Whim Woodworks, and it's this beautiful pen here. It is very comfortable. It's lightweight, and I like the girth of it. It's a very nice, smooth, comfortable writer, and the ink is very, very nice in this, and you can even see the change in the ink color as I'm writing. But I've been getting some hard starts with this nib, especially when I'm thinking and I have it uncapped in the middle of writing, and I just like pause to think. I do get some hard starts, so that is quite frustrating. Also, this ink does have glitter in it, and I cannot really see that in the writing, but I do see the shading, which is nice. Okay, so my Scribo, as much as I love the feel of this, and I'm getting used to the angle with writing with this pen, it does not work well with this ink. I have to constantly push down on the nib to get like the ink to flow better with this nib, which is an extra fine, but it dries out as I'm writing, which is really frustrating. And on top of that, the ink is not my favorite. I feel like the ink is boring, and it's it's just an ugly color. It's really flat and just uninteresting. We have the Sailor pen, and I'm using the Sailor Ink Studio ink, and this one is really nice. However, the ink and the pen, but on their own, are nice, but together I feel like this is not the right ink for this pen because it is a fine and it writes even finer, or it's a medium fine and it writes like an extra fine to me, which is expected of an Eastern pen, but the ink is not dark enough for me, and I don't like how it looks in my planners and in my journals. I think that I need a wider nib pen for this ink, and the combination would be better suited for a different nib. But other than that, it is lightweight. Of course, it's smooth. There's a little bit of feedback, so it's easier to control, and it's just the combination of the two isn't ideal for me. Then we have the Esterbrook, Estie, and this one has the Night Buzz Purple Montegrappa, which I think goes really well with this pen color, or the body of the pen. This is like such a comfortable writer. It's reliable. I use it for planning and in my journals, but actually I've been preferring to use this for planning, believe it or not, just because it's so reliable. Like the lines are reliable. They're not like gunky and sometimes thick and sometimes thin, and the color is actually growing on me. I was thinking that this color would get annoying after some time because that's how I feel about like some pinks and purples, but I'm actually really enjoying how this ink is in this pen and how the ink is on paper. So the Hut, this is the newest pen, and it's actually a pen I did not purchase. This is a pen I won from the Atlas Stationery fountain pen tournament, and I didn't even realize I won until the pen was already halfway to my door. So I did like an unboxing, and I think I will share that in another video. But this pen is actually, it's metal, but it's quite lightweight and it's quite comfortable. It's not you could tell that with the quality, it's not a very expensive pen, but it does the job. And so I decided to put the ink that I also won with this pen in the pen. It did not come with a converter, so I had to use a syringe and put it into a one of the cartridges. And I find that whenever I use a cartridge, ink does not always flow very well through a cartridge, and so sometimes I have to kind of push this to pump some more ink into the nib because it's can get dry. But once when I do that, then I can write for a while without having to do it again. I am not a huge fan of metal pens because I just think that they're clunky and unattractive to me. But this one I think is a little bit of an exception because it has this nice body, which is not, it doesn't feel like metal to me. So yes, and then also because metal pens, if the grip section is metal, I usually have a hard time with my fingers sliding on the grip, and I have to hold it tighter so that my hands don't slip. So that's another reason why I'm not a fan of metal pens, especially those with metal grips. Other than that, it writes really well. and this ink is quite beautiful. I don't use the pen very often because of the ink that I put in it. It is one of those inks that I only like to use seldomly. Again, pinks and purples are just, I can't use them all the time. I have to use darker colors, and then every once in a while it's nice to open up a pen that has, or use a pen that has a brighter color. But in this case, I like to use it seldomly. You can also see the glitter in this ink as well. It's really pretty and subtle. It's probably hard to see on camera, but that is pretty much my little review so far. Let me know your thoughts, and if you have any questions about this case, let me know in the comments. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.